he must be fool to choose to become a criminal. So we have to give the farmers another option of living. We have been trying to do also some alternative crops, which is different from alternative livelihood. Alternative crops, we try to substitute poppy with saffron or rose water or something. It works, but it has severe limitations. Because in order for the alternative crops to work, you need the infrastructure in place. You have to have roads, you have to have cold storage, you have to have a market to sell it. If you convince the farmer in Kandahar to grow grapes, he will do it. But if there is no road to take that grape to Dubai or to India or to Russia, he will do it only 1 year. Because for poppy, you don't need that infrastructure. Once you harvest it, that deadly crop, you can put it in a plastic bag and put it in a corner of a room. It will be sitting there for 3 months. It's not going to go bad or anything. It doesn't need even road use. The farmer can take it in his pocket and go across the border. So, in order to fight narcotics, we have to build the infrastructure in Afghanistan and provide for alternative livelihood. And here on this map, on the yellow area, you see areas where we have most of the problem with narcotics. And it's clearly the area where we have also most of the security challenges. So it is completely connected with security. And because when there's no security, then the government is not present to deliver services. And then the security force is not there. It's all military. And that's why the way forward is to truly enhance security, but equally important, deliver services and provide for an alternative. Despite all the talk about poppy going, like the statistics that just was mentioned, if you look at the growth of the poppy versus the GDP, you see a decline. Our GDP in 2002 was 4.8, while the size of the poppy was 2.5. Today the GDP is close to 9 billion. The poppy is still 3 billion. So overall, the size of the poppy compared to the size of the GDP is reducing. And that's, on the long run, this is the way to do it. We have to have, you cannot just go out and eradicate every poppy field and hope that things will work out. No, it doesn't. We've done it in Colombia for many years. So it has to be a coordinated effort, emphasizing alternative livelihood, eradication, and interdiction. Keep putting some of the big criminals in jail. Just a brief discussions about the regional factors in Afghanistan. As you can see, we live in a difficult neighborhood. So. And unfortunately, you don't get to pick your neighbors, so you kind of end up with them. You have to live with them. From Iran, on one side, that is so far was constructive, but it's becoming more and more challenging for us to keep Iran's role in a constructive way. And to Pakistan, with difficulties that Pakistan has in instability and the support that exists for extremism in the entire country, to many other countries, there's a lot of good potential of further economic relation with Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. We are working very hard on that. There's a lot of potential on that, but the nature of the regimes in these countries are such that they pursue more of a closed-door policy, and we would like to have better relations. But despite all these challenges, we have been truly a good partner with all our neighbors. We have a very good relation with China, despite being a strategic partner of the United States, and they've been engaged in assistance. Iran was also very helpful up to very recently on many projects in the reconstruction areas. We have Turkmenistan, again, a few friends that Turkmenistan has, Afghanistan is prominent among them. And Uzbekistan has unfortunately complication with their relation with U.S., so we are trying to convince them that they should not bring this into the table with their relation with us. The region that we live, there are some old designs of trying to expand influence. There are some phobias of some countries trying to take over some other countries. We see that in the Indian subcontinent, that phobia is very strong. So we're living with all these designs and fears and phobias. But we are trying very hard to convince everyone in our neighborhood that the future of the region, the future of Afghanistan, Pakistan particularly, and others will be in trade and investment in pursuing an open door policy. We have to, just with Pakistan and the Taliban, the amount of the trade that we conducted with Pakistan was $60 million. Today it's $1.4 billion. This is a great opportunity for the people of Afghanistan and Pakistan to benefit from peace and from stability. The matter is further complicated, of course, with beyond Iran in Iraq. We see that events that are taking place in Iraq definitely affect Afghanistan. So we are, as I mentioned, despite the strong presence of NATO, our strategic partnership with the United States, we are trying very hard to pursue good relations with all our neighbors, because the asset of Afghanistan, the importance of the country is to be really a gateway to connect the Indian subcontinent with Central Asia. And we are working on completing the ring roads in Afghanistan, and if I get a chance, I'll talk about that. If the ring road is completed, Afghanistan could be a roundabout for many of these countries to connect to each other. We are not, this is too detailed, so let's take now a few words about the reconstruction. U.S. has pledged $14.1 billion to Afghanistan since 2001. This amount is increasing, fortunately. International community contributions since 2001 to Afghanistan, it pledged $30 billion. It's committed $19 billion. Delivered to Afghanistan, $12.5 billion. Given to the Afghan government, $3.2 billion. This is a good picture of it. It shows that how much has been delivered to Afghanistan, and how much of that is being delivered to the government. Particularly when you're building a democratic system, you encourage people to elect their president, their member of the parliament, their local shuras, their governors and mayors and others. And then that government, that institution does not have the resources to deliver services. You can imagine on the long run how frustrated both the government and the population is going to be. Many projects are implemented without the knowledge of the Afghan government. They're funded directly and implemented directly. So clearly there's an underinvestment in building the national institutions in Afghanistan. If you give you the per capita amount of the assistance to Afghanistan is less than $60 compared to $600 or $700 in Bosnia or other countries. But fortunately, there is a realization that this is not the right approach. Things must change. What we are doing is, and of course, we are paying also a price for not doing enough. There's a heavy price for not doing things too. There's no doubt that building a country like Afghanistan is not going to be cheap. It's going to be expensive. But the cost of not doing it is going to be a lot more. Both for Afghanistan and for global security. This is another. The military expenditure since 9/11 about 448 billion actually to Iraq, 126 billion to Afghanistan, and reconstruction aid for Afghanistan 7 billion, and given to the Afghan government 1 billion. This is U.S. only. The other one was international community, everyone. Fortunately, as I mentioned, there's a realization of the problem, of the magnitude of the problem in Afghanistan. There are new resources are becoming available. 11.8 billion we are hoping to receive in the next 2 years. A significant amount of this 11.8 billion will be spent on security, basically training the Afghan National Army and Police Force, about 8 billion of that, which is a very wise investment, particularly if we want to relieve the pressure on the soldiers to come home, Americans or others. If we build the capacity of the National Army and Police Force, this is our country. There's no shortage of will or courage in Afghanistan to defend our country. It is a shortage of know-how and skills, and that know-how and skills must be built. Portion of that money will be also spent on capacity building and improving governance, which is a challenge right now in Afghanistan. And development, particularly road and power, are two priorities for us right now. Very simple. Where the road ends, insurgency or Taliban begins. It's as simple as that, as always. And so far we have built, in addition of completing the Afghanistan ring road, which connects the major cities, it's about to be completed. We have also built about 10,000 kilometers of secondary roads to connect small cities and villages and districts into the main highway system. Electricity is our second priority right now. 6% of Afghan has access to electricity. And this is, there on the right side is Kajiki Dam, actually a dam that was built with U.S. assistance back in late 1950s. It needs a lot of improvement, and work is supposed to start, actually was underway. On electricity, it's a very complicated